Hello, anyone and everyone that might be listening. More realistically, only a couple people, but that's just fine with me. You all know me, but you might not know all the important people in my life. I have lots of different groups of friends, and they're all over the place, and they're equally as important to me. And I think it's a shame that you guys don't get to interact. And I do, with all of you. So I wanted to do this in an effort to get my really good friends to know my other really good friends, and also get to know some people I don't know as well, and just get the chance to ask them questions that get them to open up about themselves a bit more. And in the end, at the very least, I think something like this will be a really nice time capsule to look back to later on and encapsulate, I don't know, how strong my connection was with everyone. So this first one is my friend Anna. Anna and I met like 6 years ago playing frisbee at the beach, and was my roommate for a year, almost a year. And I guess that's it. That's all we really need to know. So, here is Anna.
Oh, hi.
Yo, what up, man?
I think you knew how to start this because I was like...
You can leave your camera off. It's gonna be voice.
Okay.
Oh, I know. I wish I had the technology for that, but or the ambition for that, but I don't.
It's okay. You saw my screen. It was like fully dark.
Yeah.
Everything was dark.
Yeah, I'd add a disclaimer like, Anna did not want to be seen.
Yes, I have to be incognito all the times.
Alright, well listen, you're obviously the first person I've done this with. So, a couple things right off the bat. Why don't we go ahead and just do the shot right now, the first one.
Hell yeah.
And then, yeah, like you said, like, if you don't like this, happy to never, do anything with it. But, we'll do it, and I'll send it to you after, and we can feel it out.
Hell yeah. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be fine with it. It's more just I probably will never listen to it.
Oh.
No, I will. I think you know that feeling where like I think there's some scientific backing to this, but like hearing your own voice
Totally.
sounds really different, right?
I'm super sensitive about my voice.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I always
Wow.
thought it was high pitch.
Really?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty
Wow.
excited right now because I'm sick, so my voice is a little deeper. So it's like,
Hell
oh, dude,
yeah.
sick, great
This
first
is
impression.
perfect timing.
Yeah.
Perfect timing to do the interview. I was gonna say like we don't have to do it if you're sick, but
No, this
never
is-
mind.
This is a
You
good
can only
day
do
for
it
me.
when you're sick.
Yeah, I'll just have to hang out at kindergartens each time I want to do this, so I can pick up whatever's going around these days.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hang out at those kindergartens.
Alright, so real quick before we jump in, let's do this shot.
Okay, I got my shot poured and I got my chaser ready.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go.
Did you also do it?
Yeah. I have peppermint tea as my chaser, which
Oh,
wasn't good.
what was your liquor?
Bullet whiskey.
Oh, me too.
Oh, sick.
But my chaser was ginger beer, so.
Yeah, that's better. Okay, so like, a couple reasons I want to do this. First one being like, I've specifically divided the, real quick, let's say we started at like 7:35, because I'm just going to record for an hour.
Cool.
So at 8:35, cut it off. Anyway,
And at
Yeah. So
8:05, another shot.
oh no no no
Oh.
at 8:55. So every 20 minutes. So 8:55 we'll do one, and then at uh, or no 7:55, and then 8:15 we'll do one.
Sweet.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like friendships a lot of the times avoid or kind of like naturally divert the like small talk section of a relationship. So like there are a lot of just like little casual things I don't know about my friends. Um,
Yeah.
and then other times, with like acquaintances, like some of my best friends, significant others who like I know some of them pretty well, but a lot of them I don't know really well. Um, you don't really get to get into the deep stuff. So I don't know. I kind of want to like do a mix of that, and I think I have some fun questions. Um, and I thought you are a really interesting person, and you have some good stories. No pressure. Um, so
Everyone have low expectations.
mhm. um, I don't know. Chances are no one's gonna ever listen to this, which is totally fine.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's
but
what I'm hoping.
right. Uh, but I mean, in any like, hopefully, at least our core group of friends will be like, I want to hear what Anna had to say. Um, all right, Anna. Phase one
All
questions.
right.
Um, tell me about your greatest athletic feat. So your right foot, your left foot.
My greatest athletic feat. All right. This is kind of a strange one,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd say so. Background on this. I ran cross country in high school, and never tried super hard. I mean, the thing is, I think I did try hard, but I was never great, and so I passed it off as I didn't try hard. And it probably was a combination of I actually didn't try hard, and also um, I wasn't good. But ran for I think all 4 years of high school. Um, was like right behind the like varsity team. So, always kind of there, but like never great. But then I quit when I went to college. And my junior year of college, my little sister, so I'll do a slight tangent and just say my greatest athletic defeat was when my little sister, who's 2 years younger than me, was faster than me at cross country in high school. And the first time she beat me at a race, I was just devastated.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm faster than my brother, and he also hates it. My older brother.
Oh, I'm talking to one of those. Okay. But yeah, but we have a great relationship, and after that first defeat, I was fine with her beating me from there on out.
I can tell you that she like dreams about that. It's probably like her best day ever.
She beat me in many other things, so honestly, I feel like she's got other dreams too. But it was either my junior or my senior year, and either her freshman or sophomore year in college, we went to the same college. I think her sophomore year, my senior year, she really wanted to do a marathon, and she said to me like, Anna, I want to do a marathon, like, do you think you'll train with me? And I was like, yeah, for sure. But I was a senior in college and I did not train with her. But I had promised her that I'd run at least 10 miles with her of the 26 miles that she was going to run. And I think I went on one run before, like she trained for like 6 months or so. And I probably went on one singular run in the like years leading up to this. And then the night before we had like a big party. So, I got super drunk and I was smoking weed and like hanging out till like 3 a.m. But the race was at 7 a.m.
It's fucking cross
Um,
country. It always is.
it's terrible. So wait, sorry. This was in college. So this was
Mm.
not cross country. This was just like her regular, like a regular long run of the city.
Sure.
But anyway, so we go and but I show up. I'm at the race, and I ran that 10 miles with her
Mm.
almost without an issue. Like I was just like, let's just do it. And that was the highlight of my life. Like being I love that idea of like being the opposite of a try hard,
Mm-hmm.
but managing to do okay.
Uh,
Obviously not do great. Like there were some struggles throughout it, and I definitely could not have run like another 100 meters after that 10 miles, but I showed up for her and we had a really good time. So yeah, so that was
nice.
cool.
I think you can kind of apply that philosophy to most things in life in general, where it's like it's only cool if you aren't trying to be cool.
Totally. Yeah,
Um,
or like I think there's like this attitude of like if you're like the less hard you try, the cooler you are, even though
mhm.
like I admit I'm a try hard in 99% of my life, so yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I wonder when I stopped thinking that way. Like
Hmm.
maybe I was at work or something, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this assignment. Psh. And my boss
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'll fire you if you don't. I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't get a raise. What?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for sure.
um, well, sweet. Okay. Well then let's flip around. What's something you're better at than anyone you know?
Okay. Also, real quick, am I spending too long on these questions, or are we going at a good pace?
No, we're going at a good pace. I don't plan on using all of them.
Cool. Um, I'm really good at magic eye.
Magic
You
eye.
know, it's a niche thing, which is I think why I'm better at it than anyone that I know at least.
Mhm.
Um, it's one of those things you've probably seen them in like doctors' offices and things where like it's all these random patterns and stuff, and you kind of have to unfocus your eyes, and then you'll like look at it, and like a 3D image kind of pops out at you.
Mm. Yeah, I know what you
But
mean.
yeah, my dad had a book of those when I was growing up, and I stole it and just like practiced magic eye. I mean, I don't know, it was so intriguing for me. I mean, I think part of it was as a kid, I was really obsessed with kind of like these secret languages, and like I was very solitary. Like I had some friends, but like I did a lot of like individual play. And I had this like secret language where I would write scribbles on pieces of tape and put them like all around my house and like send messages to these secret invisible people.
Mm.
And I think something to do with the tape being clear helped the invisible people read it. I don't know. But I did that all the time, and I loved that idea of like something like a decoded message or like a secret message. And I think that's why I was so obsessed with these magic eye, because it was like something I could see that like other people couldn't see.
Mhm.
Yeah, kind of like imagination or something, but a little bit more concrete. Yeah, I really, and I still do. I still really love them, because it's like it's almost like secret artwork or something. So I'm pretty good at those. And most people can see them after some time. Like if you look at if this was your first time trying it, you could probably look at it for 5 minutes and find it. But I think I can do it in like almost any of them in like
Mm.
under 30 seconds. So you'll have to give me a test sometime.
I wonder if this like if at any point in your life you're ever gonna need glasses, and they're gonna have you do like the eye test, and you're just gonna be like you're gonna be like
Oh,
better than 2020 or something. You're just gonna be like
yeah.
an anomaly. Like this person has the third eye.
Little did you know, I actually used to have better than 2020 vision. I went one time to the doctor. They used to always do those things when you were kids, and they were like, "Oh, you have 2015 or something,"
Mm.
which to this day I still don't know what that means. It's something about the distance away, but and I lorded that over my sisters for years. And then the last time I went to the doctor, I got them to give me an eye test, and I only had 2020, which I know sounds like super lame to say to people who have glasses, but that was my special skill for a long time. So
Well, part of the reason I haven't gone to the dentist in so long is that the potential of me ruining my streak of never having a cavity is
yeah,
very real. So just not gonna
yes,
do it, right? Like,
absolutely.
as long as it's not on record, it never happened.
Yep.
Was there anything specific about the invisible people you remember? Or was it just like the game of like, oh, like, I'm hiding this code, and just the idea that someone might see it is really intriguing to me.
They were definitely actual. I mean, I don't know if they were people. I feel like they were more like aliens or ghosts or something.
Mm.
They didn't particularly have personalities. Like, it wasn't like, oh, my invisible friend's so and so. It was more like they needed to know what was going on, and so I was like giving them updates on like what was happening.
In your life,
Yeah, I
or
was
like
like,
around the house?
yeah, kind of like just in the world. I mean, I'm sure I wasn't like
Mm.
relaying like important, you know, philosophical or political information, but yeah, just like little things that were happening. It kind of felt like I was almost like a, you know, like the Avatar bridge to the spirit world. Like, I feel like
Mhm.
that's what I was imagining when I was
Mhm.
that age. Though I never watched Avatar when I was a kid, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, that seems cool. Like, that
And
rings a bell.
how old were you when you were doing this?
Hmm. It lasted pretty long. I probably started when I was like 5 or 6, and I started before I could write, and then by the
Oh.
time I could write, I still kept doing the like scribbles. So, probably till I was like 10, maybe 9 or 10.
Mhm. And there's no idea you remember like what, I don't know, one of the more significant messages you left could have been about, right?
Yeah, I do remember that I loved the idea of having like tape on the mirrors. Like, that was a big thing. It was like the clearness of it. I think maybe the mirrors were like a portal or something. Like, the mirrors definitely had some kind of greater significance. But I don't really remember. I don't know if the messages were as important as like just the feeling of communicate, the feeling of like having people outside of, you know, I think maybe I was lonely, and like the idea of having like these other beings that were like in my life for like communicating with me specifically felt
Mhm.
really special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try to squeeze in one more question from this first round. But I'm going to interrupt you in a very subtle way to take a shot at 7:55. If we
Perfect. I'm
get there.
pouring it.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'll do that too. Okay, are you proud or ashamed of the first album you ever bought? Or CD?
I don't remember the first one I ever bought. I remember the first one that I listened to excess, which honestly was probably a similar one to a lot of our generation, which I had no idea that this was the case until like just a few years ago. But the Shrek soundtrack,
Oh, dude.
a
Nice. I mean,
classic.
it's a super great. You know, my first
So
my
good.
first CD that I bought was the Men in Black soundtrack. I don't even know
Oh,
why
yeah.
I bought it. I think I just saw Will Smith on the cover and I was like, oh, Will Smith.
Honestly,
Um,
good choice. Like,
I guess. I mean, I'm not really proud of it in retrospect. I like Shrek. Like, I think of Shrek and I was like, oh yeah, like that had a great soundtrack.
yeah, great soundtrack.
Yeah, I still have it.
I had
looking
no
for
taste at the time. It was just a
Oh, who
movie
did?
that we liked,
Yeah.
like it was. And it's so funny that it was such a like touchstone of our generation too, like looking back.
Mhm.
Because the first time I heard other people knew of that soundtrack, I was like, what is happening? Like,
That's funny.
were you a part of my
Yeah.
childhood?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's so funny how Shrek has made this like meme resurgence.
absolutely.
Time for shot number 2, by the way.
For sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Woo.
Okay, phase 2. What were you like in high school?
Mm.
I feel like I already have a pretty good idea about this already, but it'd be interesting to hear you describe it again.
What was I like in high school? I think high school was the first time I like bloomed a little bit. I think I still like, I mean, we all had some growing to do, but like by late high school, I think there was like the first time when I felt like I could show more parts of myself than just like what other people wanted.
Hmm.
But if we're talking about just basic facts,
No.
definitely a nerd.
Mhm.
I mean, in a good way. Don't get me wrong. I'm proud. I'm proud of my nerddom.
Mhm.
Very, very school focused, and a lot of my friends were too. But I like to think of myself as the cool one of the nerds. Which, you know, you went to high school. That's not hard to be. Yeah, I mean, my friends in high school were awesome, but they definitely weren't the typical definition of cool. Um, I like to bounce around a lot, and I think like I didn't really feel like one of the things that I kind of struggled with in high school was the feeling of like a lot of people fit into like a singular or seem to fit into a singular definition of like who they were. Um, you know, and you look at all those like classic high school movies where you've got the like groups of people um and I kind of always felt like I don't know, it was very limiting
Mhm.
and felt like people, you know, classic felt misunderstood, like they didn't really get all parts of me. Like one of the big things I remember was like I started having sex in high school, but like felt like I couldn't tell any of my friends because
Oh wow.
I just thought that they would not get it or like would think differently of me or
Were
and
they?
I don't go ahead.
No, you finish.
I don't think they were judgmental per se, but I do think it was just outside of their realm.
Mhm.
And maybe I could have trusted them with that, but like I might have had some like personal shame and worry around it too because I wasn't telling anyone. But definitely like I wish I had and my senior year like when we were graduating like maybe a couple weeks before I like found one of my best friends who I've told you about before and I was like listen I got to tell you something um and I told her I was like I've been having sex like you know with my boyfriend of like 2 years like it wasn't even like scandalous and she
Mhm.
was like oh okay like okay so definitely like a little misunderstood but in retrospect it's all in my head you know I'm
Mhm.
sure a lot of people felt that way of like put into a box in
Do
high
you
school
do you think your friends knew at the time?
um I think some of them did. I think the wiser ones probably did, but I also have a very I'm pretty sure almost none of them, if not none of them, were having sex. So I don't
Mhm.
necessarily think a lot of them knew.
Did you tell your sisters?
When did I tell them? No,
Dang.
definitely not my little sister. Yeah, I don't think I told my older sister until significantly afterwards. Actually, I think the first people who like kind of knew were my parents. Um,
Mm,
it was like 6 months after we started having sex, but my mom had like come to me and said like, "Hey, if you ever need to go to Planned Parenthood, like let me know." And then like, a month after that, I was like, "Hey, like I think we might have sex, so like
mm,
maybe we could go to Planned Parenthood." When in reality, I've been having sex for 6 months, so not quite. And I don't think I ever straight up told her, but yeah, I think she was the first person who I like indicated that to. So she did something right.
yeah. I feel like that's a lot of pressure for someone in high school to like keep to themselves, like having sex, but feeling it's like this burden you can't tell anyone about. Um,
Totally.
Especially because I feel like it was, it was like cool if people knew you were having sex, and
Mm.
like around the
I
time
think,
I was like a junior, senior, everyone was like, oh yeah, like these people are dating and like they're going to parties and they're hooking up.
yeah, I think for boys it was different. I think for women there was still, at least like in my circles, there was still this idea of like losing your virginity as like you're giving away something.
Mm,
Um, I don't know where it came from because I don't think it came from my parents. But I definitely had some kind of like weird feeling about that. That like once I got to college, I was like, I hated that. I, like rebelled so hard against that. I was like, I'm gonna do the opposite of what that shame tells me to do, which
mm.
was fun, but maybe also not the healthiest way to deal with shame. So
Yeah, I mean, classic, male comment I just made, like, it was cool to have sex growing up. Well, maybe
no, I mean classic
this wasn't
your
patriarchy.
experience. That's the thing. Like, and I also think like every time that you did something in high school, you felt like judged for it, and every time you didn't do something, you felt judged for that. Like it's
Mm,
just a time when you're like working out the world, and so like I feel like if I didn't have sex, I probably would have felt like, oh, well, like am I I don't know, should I be doing this? Like same with partying. Like I didn't really party, aka drink. People say partying, but they really mean they didn't get drunk.
sure.
And I didn't get drunk in high school until like end of my senior year. And I did kind of feel like, oh man, people think I'm uncool because I'm not drinking, or like because I'm not going to those parties. Whereas I'm sure if it was the opposite, I would have felt like like I was being judged for going to those parties. Like that's just a conundrum of being young, right? Like thinking that the world is constantly judging you
Do
when
you, do you,
really nobody cares.
do you mind if I ask why you chose not to drink? And well, I guess growing up, like, you sure you were going to parties and stuff. You just didn't want to drink while you were there.
Oh, I was not good.
Mm.
I was not cool enough to be invited to parties. My first party was my senior year. My first party I drank. Not really. I had a vodka soaked slice of pineapple. So,
That sounds really good.
and then I climbed up a doorway. I don't know. I was like, I'm drunk. I'm climbing up a doorway. But really, I was just like high on life, right?
Yeah.
It was okay, but I was like, pineapple's better. Yeah, so it wasn't really a choice as much as my older sister, who's 2 years older, was in college and she didn't drink until she was 21. And none of my friends drank. And when I first got invited to my first party and someone offered me a drink, I was like, hell yeah. So more of a case of um it not having access than disinterest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My experience too. I was one of those like super lame kids in retrospect that was like, oh, drinking's like, I don't know why everyone wants to go drink. Like, it's so lame. Like, just wait till you're 21. Like, oh, I don't care about any of these girls. Like, they're all so lame. Like, I don't want to have sex. I want to be in love. But obviously,
Totally.
like, the entire time I was like, dude, this sucks. Like, please someone ask me on a date, please. Yeah, I was an absolute, I don't know, I was a joke back then. It's pretty funny.
No, I feel like we would have been friends, like.
Maybe. I mean, I was so different. I don't know, like internally the same, but like, uh, just could not get a word out to anyone that wasn't like one of my best friends. Just very, very shy.
I get them. I mean, I think you and I actually have had a similar path. I think maybe my shyness turned around earlier, because of like my parents basically forcing me, basically having me in therapy until I like was able to talk to people.
Mm.
But I like I think you probably experience this nowadays where like a lot of people think, oh, Nick, like he's super comfortable. He's like really great at like meeting people and like talking to people, and like that's a thing that I get that gets put on me a lot too, and I'm like, oh, if you only knew where I came from. Like
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
No, I do, and it's certainly nice. Like I'm not yeah, it is, but and it's happened so much now that I uh don't even comment on it anymore. Like I used to be like, oh really? Like wow, thank you. Like I used to be so shy, and now it's just like, yeah, cool. I know. Like,
Totally.
it's pretty nice.
Totally.
What's something you're awful at that you're embarrassed to admit?
Oh God. Okay. Oh man. That's something I'm awful at that I'm embarrassed to admit. There are a lot of things that I'm really bad at. But I will say I have tried to make that a point of keeping that in my life. Basically because of this one experience I had in college where I like took this class where I knew absolutely nothing about the topic. It was like Islam in the Americas, and every single other person in that class was like a like Asian and Middle Eastern studies major or a religion major or like something along those lines, and they were amazing, and I was freaking computer science major who knew nothing, and it was such a cool experience, like being humbled by my classmates and just being like, wow, you guys like
Mm.
are amazing. And so like ever since then I've kind of tried to do things that I'm not good at. Like Nick, one of the things that you and I started, or one of the first things that we did together was like trivia and frisbee, actually, both of those.
Hmm.
I'm fine at frisbee. I'm not good, but I'm fine. But I'm trash at trivia. I am maybe the worst person at trivia because I don't know any actors and actresses. I don't know any famous people whatsoever. It's just so out of my ballpark. Pop culture in general, even like civic events, even like history. I don't know. I'm just any kind of trivia I'm not great at. But I've really tried to embrace that idea of like doing things that I'm not good at. And then like once you do them for a while, you like, I mean, you don't get good. I'm still trash at trivia, but you feel a lot more comfortable in that space, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's nice too that like, I don't know, like trivia is something that our friend group in San Francisco has certainly done a lot of, like in person and over quarantine, and you know, none of us like took it too seriously. It's not like we were really trying to win. So as long as you have people around who like just enjoy that you're like attempting to do something that they're into. I think yeah, that's a great quality. So that doesn't count. You can't turn a bad quality into a good quality. It has to
I
be
know, I
it
did.
has to be something that you're like actually trash at that
Totally
like
did that.
you don't tell anyone about.
Okay, I'm also trash at spelling, but I feel like
Oh
everyone knows
shit!
that.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, really?
No.
I am so trash. I like, and okay, my whole family's trash at this. I feel like it's a genetic thing, or maybe it's a school system thing. I don't know, but I am so bad. Like, okay, so right now I'm teaching coding, right? And I will just try to spell like a regular word, like, okay, this is kind of a difficult word, but like restaurant, like, and I'll be typing in front of class of like 24 students, and like all they can see is my screen, right? And I'm like trying to spell this word. And they're like shouting out like, no, like you've got to have a U, and then I put the U in the wrong spot. They're like, no, like and they're like, don't you have spell check? Like someone literally said that to me. I was like, oh my God.
Well, the best teachers learn from their students too, so maybe that's one way of looking at it.
It's true. I do know how to spell restaurant now after that traumatic experience. But that's a hard word. I feel like there are even simpler words that I really, really struggle with. So I'll come up with one, I'm sure, by the end of this.
In your defense, like restaurant is one that I had to like anytime I spell it, I like sound it out in my head like restaurant or like restaurant.
But were you 28 when you learned that word?
Honestly, I might have been like 26 or 27.
Okay, I like it.
Because I always spelled restaurant wrong.
We're handicapped by society now, like letting us have spell check everywhere we go. That's my excuse, at least.
Okay, once again, I'm gonna ask that you prepare a shot, and then I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I will, signal really quickly time to do it.
Would you mind if I went to the bathroom real quick?
No, that's okay.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Sure.
Okay, I'm back.
Dang, that was fast.
Well, our bathroom is quite close to
That's true.
my room.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I got my shot ready, by the way.
What are a couple things you've done that you're really proud of? A couple things, not just one thing. And it could be at any point in your life.
Okay. This is kind of a serious one, but it's the first one that came to my mind. Man. There was an instance when I was like 21, maybe, where I punched my ex-boyfriend in the face. And probably, if not the worst thing I've ever done, like at least top 3. And the scenario leading up to it doesn't really matter in the long term, because it's like never okay. And yeah, so anyway, so that's one of the worst things. And then over the next like 2 years, I like did a lot of like personal introspection, and I like read these books on violence and like kind of like self-helpy books, but more like this, like trying to figure out like where anger comes from, and like how to deal with that in healthy ways, and like how to not be reactive to situations. And yeah, and like a little bit of therapy, but mostly like personal work. Not because I don't believe in therapy. Totally believe in therapy. It was just not what I did at the time. And then a very, very similar situation arose with, again, another ex-partner.
Time to take a shot, by the way. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
So a situation arose where you wanted to punch someone in the face, but you were able to control yourself?
No. Well, sorry. Another very similar situation arose where it was kind of like similar dynamics of I felt I had been wronged by an ex who then I was presented with very suddenly. And it was totally opposite. It was like I had like a complete opposite reaction. I mean, not opposite reaction. I was still internally really upset and hurt and angry. But instead, I just like was like, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" And then was like, "Hey, like, I'm really bothered by this, and this really like hurts me, and I'm really upset, and that's all. Okay, goodbye." And I don't know. I just like it was still a horrible situation, and I like definitely after the fact like got super drunk and like tried not to like deal with that situation, but like in the moment I had just learned these skills to be able to like be better about who I was, and just know that like to me my biggest issue with that person that I punched in the face wasn't what he did or like the scenario. It was like how I responded to it. And I think to this day, like why I really don't like thinking about him is I don't like thinking about who I was in that moment or in that whole relationship, right? And like now after this, I was like, wow, I changed. Like I am a better version of me, and like that was like the best feeling. Like despite still feeling shitty about the situation, like being able to feel good about how I responded to it, like really was awesome. So yeah, that was definitely one of my proudest moments.
That's really cool to me because I feel like learning to be non-reactionary or to like think before you act is something people don't naturally learn how to do until like their late 20s. And it's kind of like, especially with like youth and people in their early 20s and below, it's kind of like tolerated or expected or like almost known that like kids are just gonna act out, and it's like, oh, they're kids, kids will be kids, like kids are gonna fight, kids are gonna fuck around, find out, whatever. So I don't know, the fact that you recognized that when you were 21 and you were like, I didn't like that, like I don't want to be that person, I'm gonna put in work to not be that person. I think that's very discerning.
Thank you, Nick. That's really sweet of you.
Yeah. I wish I was like that when I was 21.
Hey, well, you never punched anyone in the face, so I don't know.
No, but I
you
mean,
didn't have as much growing to do.
No, I mean, like, I mean, there was like one or two people I wanted to punch in the face at some point in my life, but, probably not for, like, a worthwhile reason, and,
there are very few worthwhile reasons, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I can dig that. Alright, well, let's move on to phase 3, unless there's another thing you're proud of. That you can think of.
I'll say the only other thing that I want to say is me and my little sister had a really tough, not tough, overall, but like some bad moments growing up. She's Christian, but like she's the only one in my family, and I was like a diehard atheist, which I am not now, and is not really ever who I was. I just really didn't like the
Yeah.
tradition of Christianity, and I said some really like hurtful things, I think, and really damaged our relationship. And then a couple years after that, I really worked really hard to build it back. Like I did everything under the sun that I could think of to be like, I support you and I support your religious choices, including I bought her a Bible. It was a nice Bible. It wasn't just like any Bible. It was like a special one, whatever. So yeah, I think like I am proud of that relationship because I think of all the relationships in my life, that is one that I like have very specifically put in work into. Because I was like, I am the older sister, like it's my job, and also I really do love her and I really want her to like feel like I'm someone she can trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you phrase it like, I had to put in work into this relationship. Like, that's on paper like antithetical to what a friendship is, but some of them are worth it, and you know,
Totally.
I'm sure many of us can relate to that at
Especially if
some
you've
point.
been friends since you were like a young shithead, like
Yeah.
because we've known each other our whole lives, and like when I was a kid, I picked on her, like yeah, I don't know. I think there is something with siblings where like you have to try to be friends, in some ways. But but yeah, I know what you mean.
Hmm.
It's not because of who she is, it's because of who I was as a kid and as a teenager, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, makes me think about like my relationship with my brother, and I should probably put in some work into that, if I'm being honest.
The younger one, so you don't have any responsibility.
Shit, you're right. I hadn't thought about
That's me
that.
with my older sister. I'm like, that's your job.
Yeah, I
Like,
can fucking coast, dude.
yeah, I can be a little shit, and you just have to deal with me because you're the older sibling.
um, Tell me about yourself.
Whoa. Whoa. Um, fuck. Oh, those three shots are really.
I very obviously like save this question to towards the end.
Damn, you're good. You're good. Um, okay. Um, I love people. I think that's a big thing about me. Like, even though we talked before about like being shy and stuff, for me, it was never about my lack of like love or connection with people. Like, I always liked people. I was always fascinated by them, and I was always like, I'm always interested in like random, like if you're gonna tell me about some friend that you met in Seattle, their cousin who's getting married to so and so is blah blah blah. Like, obviously I love gossip, but more so I love I love the idea of just like people living their lives and like how much those lives. You've read the story of the egg, right? The like it was popular when we were in like I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago, maybe not. Um the egg, it's like I'm gonna spoil it, so if someone wants to read it before I spoil it, I'll just give that
Hmm.
disclaimer. It's basically a story about this like person who wakes up kind of like in heaven or whatever and realizes that they have lived every single life, every single human life, and that they are like an all-encompassing, like every person that's ever existed
Hmm.
exists in them. And God, this is getting deep. Um, that story was like really cool to me. I think like it's not written in the perfect way, but like a lot of the core concepts of it felt really real to me. Just like Bob Marley, just like all the things where it's like humans are kind of one, and maybe not even humans, maybe like all living things. Wow, I told you this is going off the deep end. But that's kind of how I feel about people is like when I see people, I like even if they're super different from me, I think like, oh, we are like I get you. Like we're the same and not just like I see myself in you, but like I feel you, like I feel
Mhm.
your life is important to me. Yeah, and I think that's kind of been like a theme throughout my life is this idea of like both people and like community and this like connection between us being like really significant. So I think like when I think of myself as a person, I'm like I am a person, but I'm also like just a part of all these other people, right? Like all these other people make up different parts of who I am, and I think in some ways I'm parts of them, and like we're all just like so interconnected, that like almost like who I am doesn't matter, uh, because like it's so much a part of me just like soaking in the world, and like soaking in life. Wow, I'm getting way too. I know this is just going way off the deep end. Oh God.
Okay, I feel bad because like
Rein it in.
I I uh I don't want to like downplay the point you're trying to make, but
Go for it.
you do kind of sound like an android who's been like living amongst the people for the last 5 years and is like learning their ways.
I am human.
Yeah.
Like I am a part of you.
But I mean, if you think about that, like you know, in most sci-fi, like that's a really intriguing
That's
concept, right?
good.
It's like someone who's like totally grounded in strangers and totally
Yep.
um, open to experiences, and like no one's like that, right? Like
And
everyone's in
yeah,
their own
and
little world.
but also like we all just mimic each other, right? Like we're all just like copies of like what we've seen and like who we've been around and like that type of thing, right? And like I feel like that's what cyborgs do. They like or AI, they just like look at humans and they're like, "Oh, what are these humans doing?" And like then they just like copy us, which honestly, that's what kids do. That's what babies do, right? And so like
Yeah.
is that not also what we do as adults? Like copy each other and like I don't know. Um but yeah, I mean that's a good point. But yeah, okay, getting back to who I am. I will say, yeah, community is a really big thing for me. Um, I think that I did have another one. Um, good, good question. I don't know. Um, Somebody's still trying to figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
Um, who are you? Next, that will help me.
I don't know if we have time for that.
Is that the last episode of the series?
Well, this is the first episode.
Someone interviews you.
Oh.
Actually, you know what you should do is cut together like different people asking you the different questions and then you just like responding.
Mm,
But we get to ask our own questions and you have to be drunk for all of them. So,
right. We can do that.
oh man.
Okay. Can I squeeze in a couple more?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, I have no plans, so
Mm.
and I'm already going.
Well,
So
I do want to do the hard
already a
cut
little turn.
at 8:35.
Cool.
'Cause that'll be an hour. Um, who's the most interesting person you've ever met?
Interesting is such a like loaded word, you know? Okay, I got one.
Nice.
This is, you know, if you had asked me who's the best person you've ever met or who's like the I don't know. I would have different answers for every word, but this person is someone I really think of when I think of really just fascinating. I'm actually not going to say his name just out
Sure.
of because I'm going to share something pretty specific.
Mm-hmm.
He is amazing. Like he's got this super impressive mind. We went to high school together, where he can just like if you say to him, "Hey, so and so, can you like," I'll call him Philip. Philip's a good name. Um, Philip, can you like draw me Switzerland? Like he can draw the exact version of Switzerland, like to every like little crevice. Like he is amazing. Or like draw me West Virginia, right? Like the perfect he has this like photographic memory of geography or population. Like you can say any city in the world and he can tell you like the population size, the demographics, the like whatever kind of information you want to know. Maybe like the average yearly temperatures. Amazing person. We did debate together, and when he was a uh and and during high school he was writing this novel where like he hadn't even written a single page of the novel, but he had written like 40 pages about the world that he was creating, and they
Nice.
were maps of the country. They were all the rulers who have ever ruled in that country. They were all the wars and the positioning of all the wars. Like amazing mind. Love this dude. So cool. And then, he went to college, did a lot of different things. We like kind of reconnected after college, and we are both in my like hometown. And I was like chatting with him about what he was doing, and he was like, "Oh, I'm a male prostitute these days." And I was like, "What?" And he doesn't look like a typical male prostitute. Like, he's like this gawky, skinny guy who's like, and like unhurt, like you would expect from my previous description. Um, and I always kind of knew he was gay, but like we didn't really talk about that stuff in high school, because, everyone was closeted at the time. But yeah, and oh, also in high school, he wore a tie-dye shirt every day.
Mm.
Every day he wore a tie-dye shirt, but it was like a button-up tie-dye shirt. Oh my God, I love him. He's just so great. And yeah, like when he told me that, I was like, why are you doing that? He was like, ah, just for fun and like kind of like for money and just like things to do. Oh my gosh, I just love, he's just like you never like those are two random things that like really stood out to me, but like honestly, you never know what to expect with him. Like the most random thing will always come out of his mouth. And I think he just thinks so differently from like other people that I've met that, yeah, he's probably one of my favorite people to be around because I'm like, I just love hearing whatever you have to say. So, yeah, great
Mm.
person.
Um, Kind of full circle moment too. It sounds like you really admire him because he'd probably be really good at trivia.
Dude, we actually did trivia together. He is really good at trivia, but niche trivia, not everything. Niche trivia for sure.
When was the last time you talked over his phone?
I saw him last year.
Nice.
He came to visit San Francisco,
Mm.
and he and his partner came, and it was so fun. And he's one of those people who thinks that he doesn't have like a lot of social skills, but like his strategy for um kind of curbing that is asking the most interesting and thoughtful question. I mean, Nick, wow, this is kind of like TBD is actually Nick. No, his questions are amazing. Like he will ask really intricate questions about like instead of just like because he met my partner TJ, he was like instead of being like TJ, what do you do for work? He's like TJ, like what like God, I can't even do it, but I'll try.
Mm.
Um, what in your life gives you the feeling most of, or reminds you most of, like, sunrises? I don't know. Like, that sounds stupid. Okay, not that, but he's better.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Questions where you're like, wow, like you're a total stranger and you're trying to get to the core of my being. Like,
Exactly.
who does that? That
Exactly.
scares me, but in a really good way.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I love that about him, and I love that about you, Nick.
Yep, that's me. Trying to
Get the core of things.
Trying to get the core.
But also trying to get people drunk, which also works. I was like, I'm not gonna take shots, but as soon as I was on with you, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing it. I was like, I gotta make a mixed drink, Nick, and I don't think I can do it. And then, you know what? I took all 3, and they were full. Oh, man.
Well, I really enjoyed that.
Me too, Nick. Really fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks, Anna. Thanks for explaining you.
Thanks for asking, Nick.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Cool. All right. I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Okay, we're hanging up.
Have a good night. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, talk to you soon, Nick.
All right. Bye.
Love you.